Okay, thank you for joining me today on K-Fix-It. Today I've got in front of us a Dell Inspiron 11 3000 series. And when it comes on, there's a series of beeps. And we're going to be replacing the CMOS battery. I'll let you hear what the beeps sound like in just a few minutes. Let me get this thing apart and show you how to take it apart. First, the only screws in this thing are on the bottom. And there are 9 screws around the perimeter. There's 8 screws around the perimeter and 1 right in the center. And so just take those screws out, and it looks like that this little inset on the bottom lifts out, but it doesn't. That's actually a solid piece of plastic. The laptop comes apart like a clamshell. See if I can show you this. So basically, I've got a little tool here, and see how it comes apart here. It's not coming apart where it looks like it's going to come apart. It's actually coming apart here. And you want to be careful, especially when you get over around the on-off switch and the volume buttons, because those are really fragile. This computer's 9 years old now, and so the plastic's got a little bit fragile. The switches are plastic in there, and they break a lot of times. So you want to make sure that you are careful in this area right here where the on-off switch and the volume switches are, especially when you put it back on. But see, it's confusing because it looks like when you take the screws out, it would come apart at this seam right here, but it doesn't. It comes open like a clamshell. Let me see if I can hit the on button here so that you can hear what it's doing. Well, it may not do it. Oh, it won't do it with the lid closed because it thinks the lid's closed on it. So let's open up the lid, and let me push the on button over here. No, it's not going to do it. It's not making the sound at all. So we're going to go ahead and replace the CMOS battery. There it is. You hear that sound? Hang on a second. It's confused on whether this lid is open or not. There it goes. Okay, so right here you see it says real-time clock error. So basically the CMOS battery is dead. So that's giving us 5 beeps. That's a key indicator, 5 beeps. So I've turned that back off where it won't make that noise. And so first things first, we're going to take the battery out so that we have the battery out when we disconnect everything else. So the battery connector is right here. And it has 1 screw holding it in. Once you get the cover off, there's still 1 screw holding the battery in. We're going to take that battery out, or take that screw out. And then this connector just pushes back towards the battery itself. I'm going to use my fingernails for that. I'm not going to use anything metal. And it comes out pretty easily. And then the battery should just lift away. And there's the battery. All right, so the CMOS battery is underneath this ribbon cable. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I had it apart earlier just to find out where it is, and so I can show you guys how to change it out. So first we got to open this ribbon cable up, or to remove this ribbon cable, because the battery is underneath it. So I'm just going to flick up the connector here. It's flip it up out of the way, and it releases that ribbon cable. And the ribbon cable is released on both sides, and you just lift it up out of the way. There's the CMOS battery, and it's connected with a black and red cable over to the motherboard. And I'm going to back that off of the motherboard. You don't want to be yanking on the wires, because you sure don't want to yank the wires out of that connector. It's going to be a pain to put back in there. So there we go. And then pull out the CMOS battery. All right, there it is. Like I said, I've already had this apart a little bit, and I want to see if I can get some light on this for you. So take off the cover that's on it. And you can see that this connector has been sort of tack welded to the battery itself. I don't have a tack welder, but I'm going to solder on the connectors to a new battery. It's got some connectors. You can tell they've been soldered in there, or I'm sorry, tack welded in there. And you can see that or not. So I'm going to cut these off and try to leave some of the flat part on there so I can use it on the next battery. I can actually solder the flat part onto the battery. Let's see if I can get this cut. All right, cut it off of this side. Okay, so the battery is just a regular CR2032. You'll find these in a lot of computers these days, and have been able to find them in computers like that for years and years. That's very rare that a computer has something different than a CR2032. And so I've got a bunch of these in stock. I'm going to put you on a brief timeout. I'm going to hook up my soldering iron. I'm going to get out some flux. That's going to be very key in this, is the flux to make the solder stick to the battery. And I will be right back to show you that procedure. Okay, I'm back. We've got my soldering iron here. Yeah, see my soldering iron a little bit. Got my Heiko on the other bench, and so I'm going to use my welder to do this one. Let that thing heat up. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to get my sponge wet a little bit. I like to solder with a clean tip. Some of you guys online that solder and you got these dirty tips, drives me bananas, but whatever works, I guess. So some dirt on that sponge. Oh, I keep a bottle of water in here just in case. If you're ever in my shop, don't drink the water that's sitting around. I use it to wet sponges with. Probably nothing wrong with it, but yeah, I wouldn't drink it. So I've got my CR2032 battery here. I got one left in this little pack right here, so I'll get it out. It's like anything else. I got it where grown-ups can't get it out of the pack. Only kids can. So we'll get a little tool in there and just sort of break the membrane a little bit. Now I don't know where I laid there it is. She said I don't know where I laid my connector. Wow, that's tough. I don't know why they make it so tough. Okay. So basically I'm going to be taking the connectors and soldering onto the battery. The positive side is the bigger side, and the negative side is the center. So let's see if we can get that to go on there. These good and flat, as flat as we can. Hoping you can see that. And what we're going to do is clean the tip off here. So you see that. I'll clean that tip off. Yeah, it's nice and clean. And then I'll get some. We'll try to do it without holding anything, but I'm going to get me a pair of pliers just in case. Okay. So I've got some Kester. It's a no clean flux. It's mildly activated, so we'll use that. The solder's actually got a little bit of flux in it also, and it's a real thin solder I'm using on this. You can use whatever you like, really. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to see if I can get that to lay down on there. I won't have to use any tools to hold it close. If you've soldered any at all, you know what I'm going through right here. It's just absolutely crazy. Okay, I'm going to use the pliers to hold it on there. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make sure I've got plenty of rosin on there because it's going to help it stick. I'll put it on the connector, put it down here on the base of the battery too. And then you want to make a little pool on the battery. So what I want to do is pretty quick. Sure don't want to ruin my battery. And take the connector itself. Oh, you can't see that too well. One thing about it, that thing's hot, hot. Okay. Flip it over, do the same thing for the other side. That's hot. And then we'll give the battery a test before we stick it in there. Same thing here. A little pool there. You can see I'm not trying to connect the connector now. I'm just trying to get a pool on the battery itself. And that one went really well. So that flux really does a good job. That's the key, is that good flux. And then I'm going to come on, flow for me. So it's not flowing over that. I don't think I put any flux on the tip of that. I'll put a little bit more. If you got a situation where your solder doesn't flow, it means it's dirty. So you use just a little bit more flux. That'll clean it off right there. It'll draw the solder to the heat. Flowing pretty good there. Okay. I'm not too happy with this side. It looks like it's got one cold solder on it. A little bit more on that side. Yeah, it's hot. Look at it. It's bubbling. I didn't even touch this side. I know what you're going to say. It's going to kill that battery. It usually doesn't. It usually doesn't. cheese. This side just didn't stick like the other side did. The pool was doing good. Oh! Well, if you ever had a lithium ion fire on your bench, that's what it looks like. Well, do not, unless you want to burn your bench, don't apply that much heat to a lithium ion battery. She will burn. That was amazing. So, we'll start back again.